Good morning, everyone. It's good to see everyone, and I appreciate one of the comments that Daniel made in his class, talking about how we come here on Sundays and Wednesdays, and the routine can make it seem like, oh, I've heard this lesson before, I've heard the cross of Jesus before, I've heard about the Bible, and it just becomes kind of, sometimes we can get a little numb to it. But I want to say that I really do appreciate everybody being here. And we started a little late for class, and I told Daniel, I'm not going anywhere. And that's really, honestly, that's us. We're not going anywhere. We're here for each other. That's why we're here. And so we're here to encourage each other, but we're also here to sing to one another, to pray with each other, and to look in God's Word together. Because it's going to edify us. It's supposed to edify us. And we're coming from different places in our lives and different backgrounds as well. So I just want to say I'm encouraged by y'all's presence. I really am. And I hope that I can do the same to each and every one of you. So we're concluding the theme for this month, and that is the idea of overcoming. The idea of overcoming. And of course we have to do this every Sunday. Jeremy, if you can get John chapter 16 and verse number 33. I hope that by now some of these, this passage will kind of be memorized and stuck in our minds. This is a promise that Jesus made to his disciples. What does it say? John 16 and verse number 33.
These things I have spoken to you, that in me you have peace. In the world you will have tribulation. But be of good cheer, I have overcome the world.
Be of good cheer, I have overcome the world. Jesus did not promise his disciples that all the trouble was going to be taken away. He did not promise that all the problems were going to be gone and eradicated. But he said, you're going to have trouble in the world, but I have overcome the world. If you look at that word overcome, it's the idea of being victorious. He said, I've already conquered. I've already won. It's already taken place. You just have to follow me. What is 1 John, Scott, if you can get 1 John chapter 5 and read verses 4 and 5. 1 John chapter 5, verses 4 and 5. We have trouble in this world, but Christ has promised, I have already overcome. What is 1 John chapter 5, verses 4 and 5 say?
For whatever is born of God overcomes the world, and this is the victory that has overcome the world, our faith. Who is he who overcomes the world but he who believes that Jesus is the Son of God?
Our faith, our faith. At some point, we have to say, I'm going to trust in God. I don't know exactly how everything's going to work out. I don't know exactly the little minute details of every little thing, but I'm going to trust in God, and I'm going to proceed on in obedience. We're going to get to that in just a moment. But verse number 5 details Jesus being the Son of God. Jesus being the Son of God. And that has impact on our faith. It is our faith. It's a major part of our faith. But also, when we think about Jesus being the Son of God, we think, what does this have to do with us overcoming? And conviction that Jesus is the Son of God. Go to Acts chapter 8. Acts chapter 8. Conviction that Jesus is the Son of God will not let you stop at admiration. Man, I'm really glad Jesus came and did that. I'm really glad that God sent his Son. I'm really glad he did that. That's great. It's not just a documentary that we watch and we say, that's a nice little story. But in Acts chapter 8, we see the conversion of an Ethiopian eunuch. Start in verse number 34. The eunuch answered Philip and said, please tell me, of whom does the prophet say this, of himself or of someone else? Then Philip opened his mouth, and beginning from this scripture, he preached Jesus to him. As they went along the road, they came to some water. And the eunuch said, look, water, what prevents me from being baptized? That's an interesting question. What's preventing me? What's preventing someone? What's preventing that person from being baptized? Look what Philip responded. Verse number 37. And Philip said, if you believe with all your heart, you may. And he answered and said, I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. Think back to 1 John chapter 5, verses 4 and 5. I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. And what did they say? Verse number 38. And he ordered the chariot to stop. This conviction that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, they said, hey, stop the chariot. Stop the chariot. Middle of the road. Stop the chariot. We're getting in this water. When we think about Jesus being the Son of God in our faith and overcoming, there has to come a point where we say in our lives, stop the chariot. We're going to proceed in obedience. We're going to proceed. Stop the chariot. It doesn't just say, man, that's really nice. All right, Philip, see you later. It's not like that. Stop the chariot. Let's go forward. We're thinking about all good stories. I want to take a little moment and slow down a little bit. Whenever we watch movies, all good stories, good writings, they have some sort of obstacle. They have some sort of conflict. And any story that doesn't have a conflict, we're like, that's kind of boring. Or a conflict that's not really relevant, you know, a cheesy movie, it's like, oh, that's the problem. Like, oh, she stepped on your toes. Like, that's the problem. It's a weird problem. When you have real life problems, those are the stories that we say, this is interesting. I like this. But when we come to our real lives, we really don't want problems. We don't want obstacles. We don't want trials, tribulations, struggles. We don't want none of that. We don't want no problems. But they still come anyways. But we don't want them. However, on the other side of the problems is growth. It's growth. I'm sure every last one of us can look back on difficult times that we went through and we say, I grew from it. It's not the case that we want to go through it again. It's not the case that we would wish that on somebody else, but we can at least say, I grew from it. I learned from it. Something happened out of that came about to be growth. Something good. So consider with me Romans chapter 12. Romans chapter 12. This morning we're talking about overcoming evil. Overcoming evil. And I want to focus on not just evil within ourselves. I think we talked about that a little bit last week, overcoming ourselves. But we live in an evil world. And the evil world around us affects us. Romans chapter 12, Paul finishes his heavy theological discussion really through chapter 11. And he begins in verse number 1 of chapter 12, urging them to present their bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God. Verse number 2, and not being conformed to the world. He's transitioning over into some more practical items. So when you come to verse number 9, let's start right here. Romans chapter 12, verse number 9. It says, let love be without hypocrisy. Abhor what is evil, cling to what is good. Be devoted to one another in brotherly love. Give preference to one another in honor. Not lagging behind in diligence, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord, rejoicing in hope, persevering in tribulation, devoted to prayer, contributing to the needs of the saints, practicing hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Another point I appreciate that Daniel made. Rome was not the greatest place in the world. And we do have troubles from people on the outside, but it's really not as bad as what they were going through here. Here when he's telling them, bless those who persecute you, bless and do not curse, I'm sure when he's writing this, the recipients had a person in mind that they were thinking of that persecute them. And here Paul is telling them to bless them. Verse number 15. Rejoice with those who rejoice and weep with those who weep. Be of the same mind toward one another. Do not be haughty in mind, but associate with the lowly. Do not be wise in your own estimation. Never pay back evil for evil to anyone. Respect what is right in the sight of all men. If possible, so far as it depends on you, be at peace with all men. Never take your own revenge, beloved, but leave room for the wrath of God. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. But if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him drink. For in so doing, you will heap burning coals on his head. Verse number 21 is our proposition. Do not be overcome by evil. Same word that Jesus used in John chapter 16, verse 33. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Now, when we talk about there's a lot of evil in this world, oftentimes we think about, if I can say this, the most deplorables of society. The murderers, the people that hurt children, the people in history like the Hitlers, and those us evil people. But we know that sin at its core is really just evil. And whenever people behave from sin, it produces evil. When someone behaves from pride, it's evil. When someone behaves from greed, it's still evil. When someone behaves out of a sense of, I'm just going to get my way no matter what, that is in a sense evil. And that also affects us. And if we're not careful, we can begin to think the way to overcome these things is to just beat them at their own game. What do they say? Don't hate the player, hate the game. If you can't beat them, join them. We start to take on that mentality. Additionally, when we bring that to the church, it makes the church into a place that it was never meant to be. And if people come to the church that has those practices and they say, oh, y'all are just like them out there. This is no different. You're just in a different space. We don't want that. Here he says, don't be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. I want to make an encouragement to us. He says, overcome evil with good. Don't just keep evil at bay. Don't just keep evil at bay. I'm going to allude to Daniel's class a lot because I know when you made the point about we may have an evil thought that comes in, or a bad thought that comes in. Okay, put that to the side. I think he's encouraging us, don't just, all right, stay over there. You have your place, and we'll have our place. But rather, overcome it. Make it to where evil gets taken over. Evil gets taken over to a point where it's non-existent. And you do that by overcoming it with good. And so when we see evil in the world, I want us to get to a point where we're conditioned to think, how can we use good to overcome this? Not just within ourselves, not just within our families, not just within our church, but within the world, within our communities. Jesus said in John 16:33, I've overcome the world. Whenever we see things out in the world, we think, how can we overcome this with good? What good can we do? What good can we say? What good can we involve ourselves in to overcome this? We want to eradicate it. We overcome evil with good. Now, notice Acts chapter 10. Notice Acts chapter 10. In Acts chapter 10, Peter is delivering the gospel to the Gentiles. Start in verse number 34. He's delivering the gospel to the Gentiles, and notice what he begins with. Verse 34. Opening his mouth, Peter said, I most certainly understand now that God is not one to show partiality. But in every nation, the man who fears him and does what is right is welcome to him. The word which he sent to the sons of Israel, preaching peace through Jesus Christ, he is Lord of all. You yourselves know the thing which took place throughout all Judea, starting from Galilee after the baptism which John proclaimed. You know of Jesus of Nazareth. This is the introduction of Jesus. Notice what he brings up. How God anointed him with the Holy Spirit and with power, and how he went about doing good and healing all those who were oppressed by the devil, for God was with him. Jesus was on the move doing good. And he was also on the move healing those oppressed by the devil. The evil, the devils, the demons, those evil things. Jesus was going about trying to undo and overcome by good all those things that they did. But he also went about doing good. Why? Because there was evil in the world. As a matter of fact, I believe it's Isaiah chapter 9 verse number 2. It would talk about how Christ's coming was going to be a great light to the Gentiles. It would be a great light to the Gentiles. That's quoted somewhere, I forgot the passage. Matthew, I think it's 15. Forgive me for that, I have to remember that. Jesus came to the Gentiles as a light in darkness. It was a dark place, and Jesus coming was mentioned as a light. Why? Because Jesus was the good. And he was using that light to overcome the darkness, overcome the evil. And when we look at this in actual practice, go to Luke. We're going to look at some places in Luke, actually, all of them. First one is in Luke chapter 7. Luke chapter 7. Luke chapter 7, Jesus went about doing good, healing those who were oppressed by the devil. And when we think about us and our overcoming evil, the evil in the world, and doing so with good, I want us to understand we have to be conditioned to think, how can we overcome this with good? What good can we do to overcome this? In Luke chapter 7, start in verse number 1. And I want us to read this not as scientists, but as human beings. Because oftentimes we read this and say, man, that's really cool. All right, we're good. I want us to be in the place of the people that Jesus impacted. Was it the POV, the point of view? Look at this through their eyes. Luke chapter 7, starting verse number 1. It says, when he had completed all his discourse in the hearing of the people, he went to Capernaum. And a centurion slave, who was highly regarded by him, was sick and about to die. That one verse. A centurion slave, who was highly regarded by him, was sick and about to die. Put yourself in the eyes and the shoes of the centurion. And for many of us, it's very easy. Have you ever had someone that you really loved and appreciated that was sick and about to die? This is the situation. When he heard about Jesus, he sent some Jewish elders asking him to come and save the life of his slave. When they came to Jesus, they earnestly implored him, saying, he is worthy for you to grant this to him, for he loves our nation, and it was he who built us our synagogue. Now Jesus started on his way with them. That's kind of where I want to stop. This man had someone he appreciated and loved that was about to die, and he called for Jesus, and Jesus went that way. Some of the evil that is in this world and the hurt that's in this world doesn't necessarily come because of someone's actions. Sickness just comes to people. It happens. And here, Jesus wasn't like, nobody did nothing. He still went and tried to do something. Or he went to do something. Now, of course, we know that Jesus had miraculous power. We don't have miraculous power today. But look at the point I'm making here. Jesus went to do something. In Acts chapter 8, they said, stop the chariot. We have to do something. Here, Jesus hears about this. They come to him. And Jesus goes and does something. Drop down to verse number 11, chapter 7. After he had healed him, it seemed like just right off the bat. Verse number 11. Soon afterwards, he went to a city called Nain, and his disciples were going along with him, accompanied by a large crowd. Now he approached the gate of the city, and a dead man was being carried out, the only son of his mother, and she was a widow, and a sizable crowd from the city was with her. Now, in today's day and age, women can get jobs pretty easily. They can support themselves. They can do all these things. But here, you have a woman who's a widow, and her only son is dead. That's pretty much a life of just destitution and begging. And a whole city, a crowd comes out. Let's try to put ourselves in the eyes of a widow that lost their husband and now losing their only son. Verse 13, when the Lord saw her, he felt compassion for her. Can we be conditioned to see difficult situations in people's lives and feel something? Feel something. When we were doing the door hanging, Baker, there was a lady who was outside, and he got to talking with her. It was actually one of the last, I think it was like the last house. And I was going to reconvene with him so we could talk afterwards and whatnot. But I saw it after like 15, 20 minutes. Like, he's hung up. So I left. He called me later on and he said, yeah, she had me hung up for about an hour. Talking about her life and her situation. Going through her second divorce. Years of church hurt. And now she has her son who she's trying to support by herself. And we got together and we're like, we gotta do something. That's not easy. It's not easy. We met with her yesterday. Really, really appreciated the effort that we made for her. And I say that to say this. Whenever we see people going through difficulties and situations, it's not to say that she's not like a poor beggar. She's still doing what she's doing. She's still supporting. She's still making it. But it's not easy. Can we not look at that and say, man, we gotta do something. We gotta stop the chariot and do something. Her life situation is tough. Some of that her fault, some of that not, but still, can we not say this situation, we can overcome it with good? And can we not be conditioned to feel something whenever we see someone going through a difficult time or a difficult situation? And that's what Jesus did. He saw her, he felt compassion and said, do not weep. He came up and touched the coffin, and the bearers came to a halt, and he said, young man, I say to you, arise. And the dead man sat up and began to speak, and Jesus gave him back to his mother. Can you imagine being in the mother's position? Jesus did something. Jesus did something. Go to Luke chapter 8. Go to Luke chapter 8. Start me in verse number 26. Once again, we're putting ourselves in the shoes of these people that Jesus is impacting. It says, then they sailed to the country of the Gerasenes, which is opposite Galilee. And when he came out onto the land, he was met by a man from the city who was possessed with demons, and who had not put on any clothing for a long time, and was not living in a house, but in the tombs. Seeing Jesus, he cried out and fell before him, and said in a loud voice, what business do we have with each other, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, do not torment me. For he had commanded the unclean spirit to come out of the man, for he had seized him many times. And he was bound with chains and shackles and kept under guard. And yet he would break his bonds, and be driven by the demon into the desert. And Jesus asked him, what is your name? And he said, Legion, for many demons had entered him. We know that not all sickness is physical. Not all sickness is physical. And as a matter of fact, my opinion, because of modernity and the way our lives are these days, I think that mental illness is incredibly, incredibly on the rise. That is also being overcome with evil. Here, this man was taken by demons. There comes a point in which, especially with adolescents, they go through traumatic childhood and it ends up affecting them in their adulthood. You don't think that this situation, these outside forces, this demon on this man, affected him to the point where it seems like he wasn't himself? And as a matter of fact, you drop down to verse number 35. After Jesus cast those demons out, it says the people went out to see what had happened, and they came to Jesus and found the man from whom the demons had gone out sitting down at the feet of Jesus, clothed right here and in his right mind. In his right mind. Maybe, just maybe, some people are behaving the way they're behaving because they're not in their right mind. They're not in their right mind. Depression, anxiety, list goes on. Abandonment, list goes on. Matter of fact, the more, I try not to talk to school teachers, because they tell me some of the saddest stories about the kids that just go to their class every day. And the kids just go on about, how their parents are doing this, and their dad is, and mom is, and sister. You don't think that that's going to affect that child in their adulthood? And those kids are now our coworkers. They're now the people that we have to manage. They're now the people, they're my clients. That's who they are. Who had these difficult, messed up childhood. And actually, I saw a video the other day, a guy, he was talking about how there's a lot of people out here with undiagnosed mental illness. Basically, not everybody goes to the doctor and says, well, you have this. Some people just got it, and they're just not diagnosed. And you have to deal with it. But when we think about Romans 12, overcoming evil, what good can we do? How can we condition ourselves to say, we got to do something? We got to stop the chariot and do something. Something. Jesus was able to get this man back in his right mind. And I think of a lot of people who have a certain mentality that is destructive, not in their right mind. Not in their right mind. Just overly influenced by the evil. And some have just never seen any good. But can we, like Jesus, get dirty and with this man who was in the tomb to say, I'll do that, kid. And can you imagine being in the place of this man that was demon-possessed, who had no control over his body, that was just doing, and now he's in his right mind? Go to Luke chapter 9. Here's another one. Put ourselves in the shoes of these people that Jesus is impacting by using good. He's using good to do these things. Luke chapter 9, starting at verse number 12, says, Now the day was ending, and the 12 came and said to him, Send the crowd away, that they may go into the surrounding villages and countryside, and find lodging, and get something to eat. For here we are in a desolate place. Jesus had a lot of people around him, and the disciples were like, hey, it's getting a little late, it's desolate, let's send them away so they can go take care of themselves. But Jesus said to them, that's Jesus, verse number 13, you give them something to eat. And they said, we have no more than 5 loaves and 2 fish, unless perhaps we go and buy food for all these people. For there were about 5,000 men. And he said to the disciples, have them sit down to eat in groups of about 50 each. They did so, and had them all sit down. Then he took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he blessed them and broke them and kept giving them to the disciples and set before the people. And they all ate and were satisfied. And the broken pieces which they had left over were picked up, 12 baskets full. Can we come to the point where we can feed people? It seems to be the case. I highly doubt that all 5,000 plus of these people could not afford food. I highly doubt that all these people were just completely destitute. But just out of his goodness and kindness and desire to take care of people and do good, he sits them down and he feeds them. And he feeds them till they were satisfied. They were full. He doesn't just, all right, here, scraps, all right, good. He feeds them till they were full, and he had some left over. Can we not get to the point where we say, we need to do something? Let's take care of them. Let's take care of these people. Yeah, they could probably pay for their own meal. Yeah, they could probably pay for their own groceries. Yeah, they could probably pay. Yeah, probably. But we can still do good to people. That's what Jesus did. He went about doing good. And put yourself in the shoes. We're getting to a point now where in many places we have to buy Hezekiah's oil. And I am not looking forward to the day, we buy 20,000, where we have to go eat out, and if Lord willing, we have multiple kids. And it's like, I gotta give all these kids their own meal. And then they're gonna go home and, Dad, I'm hungry. Like, you just ate, bro. I'm not ready for that. And can you imagine some of these, it says 5,000 men. There's probably women and children there too. And you don't think that those men were like, man, I'm gonna feed these kids. You don't think those wives are like, man, what are we doing? You know, they're getting hungry. She was all the time. He's getting hungry, we have to go move. We can't just drive straight to a road trip because Hezekiah is gonna be hungry. And I'm like, he's gonna be hungry, you know, he's hungry. You don't think that those fathers and mothers are thinking that same thing? And Jesus said, we will feed you. We will feed you. It's good. And when can we have this point where we're conditioned to see people in need and we say, there's got to be something we can do. Let's do some good. Let's do some good. Go over to Luke chapter 19. Luke chapter 19. This one's a little bit different, but it's probably one of my favorites. Luke chapter 19, starting verse number 1. He says, he entered Jericho and was passing through, and there was a man called by the name of Zacchaeus, and he was a chief tax collector, and he was rich. Zacchaeus was trying to see who Jesus was, and was unable because of the crowd, for he was small in stature. So he ran on ahead and climbed up into a sycamore tree in order to see him, for he was about to pass that way. When Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for today I must stay at your house. Now, our modern society, we're so individualistic. We look down at our own thing, we look down at our own phones, and we're in our own world. And here, Jesus was able to look up and see a man who desired to see him. And he said, hey, I'm coming to your house. Verse number 6, and he hurried and came down and received him gladly. And when they saw it, they all began to grumble, saying, he has gone to be the guest of a man who is a sinner. Zacchaeus stopped and said to the Lord, Behold, Lord, half of my possessions I will give to the Lord. And if I have defrauded anyone of anything, I will give back 4 times as much. And Jesus said to him, Today salvation has come to this house, because he too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man has come to seek and save that which was lost. Can we come to the point where we say, hey, let's have people in our homes. Let's go to other people's homes. And let's give them some company. Let's give them some company. And let's influence them for good. But what we really do is we just say, oh, I'm just going to do my thing. My mom business. Jesus saw this man up in the tree, pointed him out, and said, hey, I'm going to your house. We have houses today, Jesus didn't have a house. We can say, hey, you're coming to my house. You're coming to my house next week. And we're going to have some company together. Why can we not have the sense in which you say, stop the chariot, we're going to invite people to our homes, and we're going to give them some company. And put yourself in the shoe of Zacchaeus. Jesus points you out and gives you attention and focuses on you. When we have people over at our houses, let's give them our undivided attention. Let's put our phones away, put our distractions away, and let's say, it's you and me. You and me. Jesus overcame these things with good. Overcame with good. Finally, let's go to Luke chapter 10 as we come to a close. Luke chapter 10. Luke chapter 10. I wanted to go through all those different accounts to cause us to think about the receiver of the good. The receiver of the good. Oftentimes, we don't see the end result of things. And when we think about the receiver of the good that Jesus impacted, people that Jesus impacted, the receivers of the good, we can be that to other people today. And that's how we can overcome all the evil that's in the world that we didn't do. Hopefully we're not doing. We're not impacting people for evil. But somebody may hurt somebody else, but we can be the ones to be the good. And someone say, you know what? There's still good in this world. There's still good in this world. It's not hopeless. Not all is lost. Luke chapter 10. Look at verse number 30. This is what we do. As a matter of fact, I was talking to a friend of mine a while back ago, and we were talking about all the different stories in the Bible, and I said, I think God is just looking down and just reading some of these accounts, and we read over certain things, and he's like, hey, that's you. That's you right there. You talk about Jonah and being mad for God being merciful. It's like, oh yeah, Jonah did that. Man, I can't believe he did that. And God's over there like, that's you. That's you. And I see Luke chapter 10, verse number 30. I've thrown myself in this, of course. I think this is God saying, hey, that's you most of the time. Jesus replied and said, a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell among robbers. Evil. And they stripped him. Evil. And they beat him. Evil. And they went away, leaving him half dead. Evil. And by chance, a priest was going down that road. And when he saw him, an opportunity to overcome this evil with good, what did he do? He passed by on the other side. Likewise, a Levite also, when he came to the place and saw him, opportunity to do good, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan who was on a journey came upon him. When he saw him, he felt compassion. Can we not be conditioned to feel something? Verse 34. He didn't just feel compassion, though. He stopped the chariot. Verse number 34. He came to him, bandaged up his wounds, pouring oil and wine on them, and he put him on his own beast, and brought him to an inn and took care of him. On the next day, he followed through. He took out 2 denarii, 2 days' worth of work, and gave them to the innkeeper and said, take care of him. Whatever more you spend when I return, I will repay you. He was willing to put himself put on my tab. I'll take care of him. Verse 36. Which of these 3 do you think proved to be a neighbor to the man who fell into the robber's hands? He said, the one who showed mercy to him. And Jesus said to him, go and do the same. Now, technical point. Verse number 34. If you look at that word wounds, bandaged up his wounds, that word in the Greek is wounds. It's not therapy. Trauma. Thank you. You looked it up? It's trauma. 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 Evil produces trauma. Evil produces trauma. Evil produces trauma. And we are not the only ones in this world who have experienced evil. We're not the only ones in this world who have experienced trauma. And this Samaritan did what he could. He did what he could. He saw the evil and he didn't just say, man, that's tough. But that's what we do. When people are going through traumatic situations, or have gone through traumatic situations, can we be conditioned to feel something? But not only feel something, but to say, stop the chariot. We're going to do something. We're going to do something. And we're going to do something so much that we're going to try to overcome this evil. And we're going to use good to do it. We're not going to use evil. We're not going to say, oh, they did that. Oh, let's go back and get back. It's not going to be that. It's not gang culture. But we're going to overcome this evil with good. So much good that it eradicates all that evil. Eradicates all that evil. And so when Jesus says in Matthew chapter 5, verse number 14, let your light shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven. You are the light of the world. City set on a hill cannot be hidden. That's us. Can we not be the good that overcomes the evil in this world? Now, there is a lot of evil in this world. However, Jesus said in John 16:33, I have overcome it. I have overcome it. My encouragement to us today, we don't have the ability to miraculously heal. But we can pray. We can love people. I love it whenever people do the meal trains. We're trying to do something. We can have people in our homes. We can do something. That's my encouragement. I'm not trying to say, well, if this happens, to do this. If this happens, try to do something. Don't just be a passive looker on it, but actually say, you know what? Christ is the Son of God. Let's stop the chariot and let's go do something. Just do something. That's all I have. I hope the message was encouraging. If you have any encouragement, come now and stand.